Normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Feminism is destroying femininity.
Yes.
It is telling women to adopt masculine features, masculine roles. This is why
men are bad, so be just like them.
It's insane. We when you look at the numbers, transgender youth, I think one study said 85% were female to
It's
men.
mostly women cut it. Yeah, it's mostly young girls getting their breasts cut off and wanting to be men.
Yeah.
And what they don't realize is it doesn't matter what they do. They're never going to be men. They're still going to be short. They're never going to like look like men. They're never going to have that power, and they're never going to have that respect. And it doesn't matter even if you put like Jace on the name tag, you know, it's never going to be you. Yeah. When I was a kid, my mom was she was a corporate attorney, and she was often talking about how she was the only woman in the boardroom, and she was like trying to dress and be more masculine and stuff. And and the women of her generation, I remember her friends and, you know, my mother-in-law and everything would talk about how they didn't want to cook and they didn't want to clean and they didn't want to do any of these things. And I had a stepmother who all she wanted to do was be a mom. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. She wasn't able to have children of her own. And so she looked at these other women, she looked at my mom and everything, and was just horrified that they hated everything that she wanted. You know, they gave up everything that she wanted most.
Jeez. It's the attack on men is like, first of all, let's get rid of fatherhood, role models in the house, the nuclear
family. Which is
family.
so terrible.
And then if they attack the women, it's basically they can prevent that from ever even happening, right? No babies, no household. You just grow up and be miserable, and then you die.
Yes, but the misery is coming, everyone.
Oh, misery! Yeah, it's right
I'm
around
terrified.
The corner. Yeah,
of the misery.
Look, too many millennial men and women are single, and they're not having families. And yes, I always preface this with, I am doing my family stuff. Calm down, everybody, because I know full well the idea of when Chelsea Handler said she wakes up at 6 a.m, smokes, she does drugs, and then masturbates and goes back to bed. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I'm sure she's loving it.
I'm not sure she's loving it.
No, I think it's a dopamine hit. It's triggering. It's dopamine. But what's going to happen? What's going to happen when she's 70 in the hospital after suffering a cerebral hemorrhage and or some kind of disease and she's dying, and she's by herself, and the doctor says, "Press the button if you need us," and walks out of the room. And then she's just staring at a cold wall with nothing to show for it, with no one around her, no future ahead of her.
My grandfather was buried today. He died Sunday night. And it's this amazing kind of rebuke of parts of my life. I mean, parts of my life he really inspired. He was an entrepreneur late in life, very late in life, found success and inspired entrepreneurism in his sons and grandsons in particular. But other parts of my life are very distinct from his. You know, he had 7 children. He has 22 grandchildren, great-grandchildren. You know, he died basically 2 months shy of becoming a great-great-grandfather. And his legacy, long after the memory of him is gone, I mean, 1 generation from now, 2 generations from now, nobody will remember his name, right? Do you know your great-great-grandfather's name? And even if you do you know your great-great-great-grandfather's name? I mean, history will forget my grandfather. But 1,000 years from now, the impact of his life will still exist through the children that he's pushed into the future. Absolutely. And the values that he's pushed into those children that get pushed into the future generation after generation. And somehow we came of age at a time when our culture ascribed not only no value to that, but negative value to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
What if we deprive people of?
I bring this up a lot, but one of those Emmanuel brothers, Rahm Emanuel's brother, talked about why we don't need old people anymore. Old people should stop caring for themselves and basically just die. Not basically, they said die, you know? And I tell people all the time, knowing your grandparents is the best. Little has inspired me in this life more than my grandfather.
Yeah.
He was a true inspiration to me in so many ways, as a family man, as a business guy, and a creative. And a lot of people don't have that attachment to their grandfathers or any grandparent. And that is truly sad to have like that, to be divorced from history like that, because they can teach you so much from the decades that they acquired and all the stuff, you know, all the information they got. So yeah, now we have a world where they're not having kids to become the role models, and they don't have any connection to the past. So they'll be these very decrepit, meaningless vessels of humans.
But I do think more and more, here we are sitting here talking about the success Daily Wire's having. I mean, forcing Disney to course correct on Snow White is hilarious. And if anything, that's a tremendous victory. But let's see your Snow White do better, because, you know, these companies need to learn a real lesson.
Yep.
But we're watching all these tremendous victories we're learning now that there's a huge swing towards Trump, whether you're for Trump or anybody else. Biden is losing support tremendously.
Oh, I mean, SNL mocked him for the first time. So the jig is up.
Oh, what did they do?
Jig
They
is up.
mocked him, huh?
Yeah.
Oof,
What did
they're
they
in
do?
trouble.
I didn't see it.
Who played Biden?
Do you know the names of anybody on
I
that?
don't know anybody on there anymore.
As I said that, I was like, what are you
Saturday
ready?
Night
Cadence?
Sam?
Yeah.
But here's what I'm
Serge and
saying.
Bigby. Yeah.
Here's the scary future that I see. Conservatives are having kids.
Yep.
And liberals are aborting their kids, and even to some degrees, even some of their kids are being sterilized. I don't act like it's all of their kids. It's a few thousand, I think, and it's in the tens of thousands that are getting these treatments. But what is the future in 20 years going to be? These millennials right now, what's the average millennial age? Like 36 or 37, right?
Yep.
Yeah, my brothers are that age.
yeah.
They're both
Nearing their
millennials.
60s. They're going to be nearing their 60s in 20 years. They're going to be getting close to retirement. Oh, who knows? By then, retirement age might be like 77 or something, especially considering the economy now. Well, actually, I take that back. Considering this backlash, by then, retirement age might go down. But imagine these people when they're retired. No families, no savings. What do? The inverse is that conservatives have kids. 20 years from now, there is going to be 2-to-1 conservative to liberal kids. Now, people may change their values, so some of the kids of conservative parents may adopt liberal ideologies, but it's also true that the inverse could happen, especially with the pushback in schools. I think it's fair to say, based on the fact that liberals overwhelmingly abort relative to conservatives, and conservatives 20 years ago were already having more kids, you are going to have woke, feminist, millennial retirees, males and females, single, childless, begging for handouts from a government that will not give it because conservatives win the voting block.
We talk a lot about like the parallel economy, right? But I really think it's going to be not parallel realities, but fractured realities where we're going to inhabit the real world, where we were talking about before we went live about taking the physical space back, and they're going to inhabit the digital space. That's where all their identities are mostly uploaded. They care more about the digital world than they do the physical world.
Here's an interesting wrinkle on that is AI.
Oh, yeah.
That the digital world is becoming more and more artificial over time. Yeah. And I think that there's going to be a reaction to that where people want tangible physical events and engagements.
Yeah.
Conservatives love to catastrophize, right? Oh, AI is the end of the world, is the end of this. Well, of course, it's it's another one of those massive technological changes, and the world will change around it. But there are good things that come out of these advances. And one of the good things I suspect out of this new sort of artificial digital age will be a return to actual human connection. Only when I sit in a room with you and look you in the eye and talk to you do I know that you're a real person.
It's like looking at people go back and getting into vinyl again after being so
But
digital.
yeah, I mean, kids still go ride bikes.
Totally. My fear is that the other half of that will be people embracing the AI world so much that they want to marry the AI, and then we'll have people literally fighting to be married to AI.
But
it will happen.
Of course, that will happen. All the bad things will happen.
Yes.
But good things will also happen.
I want to catastrophize, Jeremy.
But this is the divergence you mentioned, because so we just bought. We're building Freedomistan, and it's been in construction for a minute. But awesome news! I mean, the drywall is going up in the lower studios.
Sick.
We've got the designs for the indoor and outdoor skate park portion, so it is moving, and we're thinking maybe by February. It could even be sooner than that. But we just bought a sound system from an antique store from the 90s with cassette, vinyl, AM/FM radio, and a CD player. And the rule is when you're playing music in the park, it has to be a vinyl played from start to finish. You will turn the vinyl on, you will go and you'll flip it over, you finish that album before you can play anything else. Why? I cannot stand the digital playlist reality.
Right.
I can't stand that whenever you open the app, it's one song from one band and it's 700 bands with one song. And so I just said, no, I don't want that anymore. I want the core original. Give me an album from one band we're listening to.
Imagine that there are adults alive today who have never listened to the B-side of Abbey Road. They don't know that's a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They may have heard every song off of it, but that is not the experience of listening to the
Dude,
B-side
you'd be
of Abbey
shocked
Road.
when I travel with my records how many people are like, what the hell are these? They look at them like they're like these foreign, like they pull it out, they literally see them open the box and then take it out and they're like looking like, I've never seen this in my life. I'm like, dude, it's a record. Like, you don't know what that is? Really? Yeah. But you'd be amazed. People literally have never seen it before.
I want to expand out on what Jeremy was saying too, because
missed the mixtape.
I agree. I love the mixtape, but this would be nice if the positivity does grow out of this, and people embrace family again.
Yep.
You know, that would be an amazing transition out of this hellscape that we've been in. And it's possible, because I'm in a community now where I'm surrounded by people who are beautiful families. And when I was in New York, I was not surrounded by that at all. It was completely defunct and anti-family.
I do just have to mention this, that we pulled up an article previously that you were on Patrick Bet-David's podcast in Miami, and now you're here in effectively West Virginia, and I'm like, man, this guy works. You were just in, where were you? You were in Budapest?
Yep,
Budapest?
and I've been overseas. This is my first time in the States since July 10th.
Wow.
And I scouted for a month in Europe before that. So by Christmas, it will be true that I spent the majority of 2023 overseas.
Wow.
Other than family, is there stuff that you realize you were missing?
Mexican food.
True.
That's a big one. I miss that here.
There's no
have
Taco Bell?
here.
Yeah, we don't have great Mexican food in Nashville either, but we have some Mexican food.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to Texas, I'm always like, we need tacos.
Yes.
It's time for tacos.
But to be fair, the American versions of it are nowhere near what Mexican food actually is.
Oh, yeah.
I like-
But it's ours, you know?
I don't know.
yeah.
I like the
exactly.
American versions.
Yeah,
of all of that
when I
food.
say Mexican food, I mean Tex-Mex.
Yeah, I want like the
Tex-Mex.
American
Yes.
version of Chinese food.
I just want a
I don't
little
want
mouse,
sea
baby.
cucumbers. I want like General Tso's chicken and some, lo mein.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.